Hey everyone, welcome to Fox 10 Talks Wednesday afternoon. I'm Brian Webb with Trenton Hooker, the dynamic duo, and Michael back there. He's steering the ship. Join us on YouTube if you would love to hear your comments. As always, and we have a special guest and a special topic today. As always, take it away, Trenton.
Yeah, Josh Kolsrud joining us,
Thanks, Josh.
Former federal prosecutor and also a defense attorney right now. Josh, we have a week has gone by since the Charlie Kirk assassination, and wow, does it feel like so much more time has gone by just with all the developments in that. And as we were covering last week, Brian, talking the full hour as we were watching all of that and talking to the young man who was 10 feet away from Charlie Kirk as that shooting happened, and then also the former high school student known Charlie Kirk, started his own chapter here. I mean, so much has happened then, but the manhunt for the suspect has just been incredible just to see how all of that unfolded minute by minute, hour by hour. And really the country was just tuned in on it. And now we know so much more that's going on. But we did have yesterday, Tyler Robinson did show up in court and make that appearance and be officially charged, correct? But Josh, what were your thoughts as you saw that with him showing up in court and the case so far of what they have against him with Charlie Kirk's assassination murder?
My first observation was that he was wearing a suicide vest, not something to explode in a bomb, but one to prevent him from committing suicide. The second thing that I noticed was that he's not, or wasn't yesterday, represented by an attorney. So yesterday was his initial appearance, and in Utah, it's required that your charges be read to you within 48 hours of being arrested, and weekends don't count, which is why it was done yesterday. All of yesterday was a little bizarre about this case, and let me tell you why. So we heard the county attorney from Washington County, Utah, read the entire complaint on the air, including the probable cause statement. And the reason why this is concerning is because prosecutors are not supposed to try the cases to the media, especially before somebody is represented by an attorney. And this is going to create a headache going forward because once a competent attorney gets on the case, they're going to immediately request for a change of venue. And the case where it's at right now in St. George, Utah, is a perfect place to have the trial if you're a prosecutor. What you don't want is for this case to be moved to a place like Salt Lake City, where it's much more diverse and where you're going to have a much larger selection and pool of jurors to select from when this case eventually goes to trial. And this is a case that will go to trial. All death penalty cases go to trial. And the governor and the county attorney for Washington County have all stated that, it's on the table. And it's also listed in the complaint itself. So the complaint, let's go over that just for a second. The complaint has 7 charges. And none of them are really surprising. We all kind of knew that this was coming. The first is aggravated murder. So in Utah, what that means, it's the same thing here in Arizona as first-degree murder. It was done with premeditation and with aggravating circumstances. And they've actually alleged 3 different aggravating circumstances. One, that the murder was committed in front of a bunch of people, a crowd. Number 2, that it was done for political reasons. And number 3, that it was done in front of a minor, somebody under the age of 14 in Utah. The rest of the charges, you have an unlawful discharge of a firearm that resulted in injury. It's the same crime as an aggravated assault in our state. You have 2 counts of obstruction of justice. Obstruction of justice means, in this case, destroying evidence or trying to hide evidence. So here, the alleged assassin hid the firearm himself, and he also changed and destroyed and took care of his clothing. So those are the 2 counts of that. And then you also have 2 counts of witness tampering. And, we know about the witness tampering because it's in the probable cause statement. And there, specifically, we have a conversation between the alleged assassin and his roommate/lover, where he instructs his lover to delete the conversation. So he's witness tampering by doing that. The second witness tampering is when he instructs his lover to remain silent and to not answer any questions. And the final charge, the seventh charge, is that a violent act was committed before a minor child. And honestly, they could probably charge about 50 of these with the huge crowd that they had there.
Josh, can you talk to us? So do you specifically mean if this were to be moved to Salt Lake, there would be the potential for fewer pro-Charlie Kirk conservatives to be on the jury? Is that really what it boils down to?
Absolutely. And when you are a prosecutor, you know your jury pools. And, we don't like to admit it when we are prosecutors that we want the case to be in one location versus another. But in this case, that's the truth. In Salt Lake City, you have a very diverse population. You may have a large population as well, although still a minority, that supports the alleged assassin. There was an arrest over the weekend, for example, of a bomb plot in Utah dealing with a similar ideology that has been connected with the alleged assassin in this case. And that chapter is headquartered in Salt Lake City. So because of the population density there, I think that a defense attorney strategically will want to get the trial there somehow.
And all you have to say is that the prosecutors already tried this case in the public, so he's tainted the pool.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, on that point, real quick, I did see some criticism since last week, specifically directed at FBI Director Kash Patel in the interviews that he was giving before he testified before Congress the last 2 days, but revealing some information that I saw an argument that violated possibly Robinson's due process rights and even FBI DOJ policy on what can be said and if he was giving his opinion about the guilt. But if we could real quick, I just wanted to play a quick soundbite from that interview on Fox News Channel on Hannity last week.
And bring in experts. That's what we were doing. Round the clock, flying in people, evidence response teams, hostage rescue teams, special operators on our FBI planes, and transporting evidence back in real time from the crime scene in the West Coast to our labs in Quantico to address the situation of forensics immediately. And you highlighted the screwdriver that was found on top of the roof and the towel in which the firearm was found, the ravine that I walked myself along with the rooftop. I said, we cannot waste a second on this DNA analysis. And we were announced today on Fox that the DNA was a positive match for the suspect in question. That's hard forensics at work. That's your FBI moving at rocket speed to deliver transparency and information about an ongoing investigation. And we felt it appropriate for the...
Wow. So he mentioned right there the FBI having a match in the DNA on the gun.
Right.
Incredible there, revealing that.
It is incredible. However, this is part of the federal investigation, and it's not going to be able to be used against the state.
Okay.
Unless the state is going to use the federal agents in its case in chief. But it still is going under the same vein because there is going to be at some point, I predict, a high likelihood of federal charges. And so whenever somebody is assassinated politically, it triggers the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
And
can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So what the Patriot Act does, and this was passed after 9/11, of course, it expands the definition, really, of conspiracy, where under normal circumstances, there has to be an agreement between at least two people and a step in furtherance to commit the crime. But under the Patriot Act, you can almost take out that first step. And when I bring this up because anybody who was involved in the text message chain or the Discord conversation with the assassin is going to be caught in this huge net of people that can be criminally charged. And the only thing that the government has to show was that these people provided material support for a terrorist act, which would be the assassination. And that could be even just putting a smiley face emoji It could be a thumbs up. It could be saying, I will publish your manifesto. Any one of those things could land you with a criminal felony charge.
A thumbs up, a smiley emoji.
Yes, because it's enabling the assassin and it's providing comfort to him, and it's considered to be material support.
Now, some of these seem on the fringe of hard legal stance. And what I'm asking is, do you throw everything into the kitchen sink at the beginning and then you kind of backtrack to the real meat of the case? I don't know.
I think that the government has taken the position that they are going to prosecute anybody and everybody that had an inkling of that this was going to happen.
Okay.
If they provided any support, whether moral support, material support, like like, hey, I'll give you $20 for a box of bullets, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're going to go down.
Yeah, and we have 2 minutes left. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Josh, if you could hang with us a little bit till after the break, because there's a few things I wanted to get into. But with, I guess, so far with what you've seen, what has been maybe one or two pieces, if we could talk real quick before the break, have been the most compelling evidence to you as a prosecutor if you were trying this case in a state court of what could be used against Robinson in Kirk's death?
Yeah, so a couple things. There's been several reports about who exactly the family friend was that came over and received the confession from Mr. Robinson. If that person was a pastor, like it was originally reported, the conversation could be privileged, meaning that those statements, that confession may not come in. It's kind of like talking to your lawyer. So if that doesn't come in, what else do they have? Well, they have the DNA on the trigger. They have it on some of the on the casings, but they also have the weird conversation that Mr. Robinson has with his lover slash partner. And I do have some suspicions about that conversation, only because it almost resembles how a scene in Breaking Bad took place at the end, where Walter White is trying to protect his wife Skylar, and he creates this fake conversation that he knows is being recorded in order to exonerate her. Because this isn't just, it doesn't seem like a natural conversation. Now, I hope I'm wrong, but that is something that is being discussed everywhere online right now.
Interesting.
But let's hold on real quick. We're almost at break, and we can dive a little bit into that coming back. So hang with us, folks, on Fox 10 Talks. Again, you got questions, we'll ask Josh here and get to them. So you're watching Fox 10 Talks. Thanks. Hey, everybody, you're watching Fox 10 Talks. I'm Trenton Hooker, Brian Webb, and we have Josh Kolsrud in. And Josh is a former federal prosecutor as well as a current criminal defense attorney. And Josh, I mean, we've been having a great discussion just where things are with this case against Tyler Robinson, the suspect, the 22-year-old accused of the murder of Charlie Kirk that we saw 1 week ago today. And we were just talking about how this evidence with how it could be presented in court. But Brian was talking a little bit about, will we actually get to see in court any of the proceedings that are going to happen? What's your take on that?
So the defense attorney on the case, assuming that it's a competent attorney, is first going to ask for a change of venue. And the second thing that he's going to do, or she, is to limit the access that the media has to the courtroom and to hopefully the materials. And what the judge can do, and what judges sometimes do in these types of cases, is they put a gag order on the attorneys in the case, saying that they're prohibited from talking to any of the media or anybody else not involved in the case. And they could also not allow cameras or recorders in the courtroom. You see this a lot in federal court. Like especially during like the P. Diddy trial, we only got like etchings of, like what the characters in the court look like. And then we had to read in the Wall Street Journal the next day what happened. It could be something like that. And a defense attorney will have a good standing to say that because the entire world saw what happened. And it's going to be hard not to have that bias coming into the courtroom and affecting the jury.
Josh, I want to ask you this because I've had a little bit of a theory, but I don't know if there's any truth to it whatsoever. But I think really ever since the O.J. Simpson trial, I remember being a kid, and that was actually the start of court TV when that happened. How much of a difference, just from an attorney perspective, I don't know if you've been a part of a trial that was televised in such a manner, but how much does that play into the psychology of a prosecutor, a defense attorney, where not only are you making your case to the jury about what the specifics are, but you're kind of making your case to the greater world about what's going on? How much does that change as one that wouldn't be televised?
Sure, and I have been involved in a case like this, and I'll tell you, it's impossible not to notice what's happening behind you, but you have to stay focused. And if anything, it puts more pressure on the attorneys to do a good job because they're going to be scrutinized by everybody. Everybody's going to put their legal hat on. I'm going to go on the next day talking smack about what they should have done in the courtroom, playing Monday morning quarterback. So I think that it actually can elevate their games. Now, you do have situations, though, where attorneys, may do a little bit more flash in terms of their presentation, which obviously I think they should avoid. Defense attorneys always, their number one priority is to protect their clients, and prosecutors, their number one priority should always be for justice, regardless of who's in the courtroom.
Josh, you touched on this a bit already, but is it impossible to separate facts and proceedings in court from the overall political weight, especially when you have the president clearly coming down on one side of this? The country is divided as we are. Is there a way to keep that out, or is it always kind of part of what's going on?
There is a way, and it becomes really important before trial during jury selection. And through a process called voir dire, the attorneys and judges in the courtroom will ask the jurors a bunch of questions about whether or not they can be fair and impartial, regardless of what biases they may bring into the courtroom. And in cases like this, I would fully expect that the amount of jurors that they have to go through to get a fair jury could be in the hundreds.
Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah. And do they go beyond, because you got to imagine something this high profile, people are going to kind of want to get on that jury, maybe some people will. Do they go beyond the answers given to look on social media? And I don't know, how far do they go? Do they interview friends and family? How, because this is very important to your case, whether you are a prosecutor or a defense attorney, right?
Well, here's some advice. If you want to get on the jury, number one, you have to live in the jurisdiction where the trial is going to take place. Number two, don't write anything on social media about the case because it's the attorneys are going to be looking at that.
Sure.
Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you won't be on the jury, but it gives one of the attorneys cause to kick you off if you show support for one side or the other.
Right.
So the main thing is every juror will be given a questionnaire before they come in the courtroom. It'll be 10 or 15 pages, maybe even longer in this case, of yes or no questions, multiple choice about what they know or don't know, what kind of political leanings they have. That's going to be a huge portion of the questionnaire. Do they support, progressive ideology, conservative ideology? Are they MAGA or are they extreme left, extreme right? They're going to want to, the lawyers are going to want to find out who those people are and kick them all out.
Right.
And if they aren't able to kick them out, it's because they're able to convince the parties that they can be fair and impartial.
Do the attorneys honestly want fair jurors? I mean, they don't want the extremists on the jury?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You always want a fair and impartial jury, especially if you're a defense attorney in this case. You want somebody who will look at this case like it's a blank slate and hold the government to its burden of proof. I mean, that's what this case is going to be about. Has the government met its burden of proof? Does that confession that he gave to his alleged pastor, does that come in? Was he under duress when he said those statements to his girlfriend or his partner?
Yeah.
All those things are going to have to, be litigated in court, and could make, a huge difference if they come in or don't come in.
So it's not, in a perfect world, it's not all just win or lose. It's we want to get the right people on this jury.
The right people, and, there's different ways to win this case. He's charged with 7 counts. And, the death penalty applies to just one of them. But the unlawful discharge of a firearm that results in an injury, that can carry a life sentence as well.
Wow.
And also, there's going to, again, be a likely parallel U.S. attorney prosecution that could also have the death penalty. And we've seen these parallel prosecutions before here in the state of Arizona. If you remember when Judge John Roll was assassinated in Tucson, Arizona, with Congresswoman Giffords, and there was the person who was responsible for that was prosecuted both by Pima County Attorney's Office and by the U.S. Attorney's Office at the same time. Now, he ended up not getting the death penalty, but I'll tell you, if it would have happened in Maricopa County, he would have. Right. So it's not unprecedented to have these parallel prosecutions.
And can I ask, is there a legal distinction between an aggravated or first-degree murder and an assassination? What is that, just a definition for the public, or is there really some legal differences there?
So an assassination is just a description about how a murder took place. So it would be the intentional killing for somebody for political purposes in front of a group of people. So it's an aggravating factor. It's the reason why, one of the 3 reasons why the homicide is aggravated, because it was done for political motives.
Okay. Well, on that point, with the political motives part, can you talk a little bit about, is it going to be more challenging, or kind of feed in a little bit with the prosecution on how they discuss politics in this case? Because obviously Charlie Kirk, being a so high-profile political pundit and being killed in such a public way, and for what is ostensibly political reasons, how is that going to be woven into the argument comparatively to this was just a killing?
Oh, yeah.
That happened.
Point. Yeah.
That is a question that nobody's talking about, and it is so important. And there are some clues in the information that was filed yesterday. Again, the information is like an indictment. So when you read it, it says information. It's the same thing as an indictment. And what stood out to me was how important it was for the county attorney to say that this was based on the alleged assassin's ideology for transgenderism. And that was important. And what I've heard officials say is that type of ideology, which has hate speech as one of their ideals to fight against, automatically leads to violence. The idea that hate speech is the equivalence of violence. It creates a pathway for violence. And I see that being part of the motive here that the government is going to try to prove, because there's no other reason to put that in the probable cause statement. None. Because it's not necessarily relevant other than for proving that the homicide was committed for political reasons. However, they're going to be able, because they've alleged that in the statement, they're going to be able to bring in experts that are going to break down that ideology to show that it's violent, it's inherently violent, that the end always leads to violence when you prove that somebody in their eyes is hate speech, is speaking hate speech.
In which case they would need to bring in many examples of that. Do they have that?
Well, I'm only speculating at this point, but there have been shootings this year, other shootings that have been tied to, allegedly, the transgender movement. And those cases might be able to be brought into this case in order to show that the ideology is inherently violent.
In which case it gets a little murky when you have to, you're throwing in, is it transgender? Is it politics? Is it, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed? I mean, there's so many things involved in.
Well, yeah, can you talk about that hurdle of, it's not just introducing it in court and trying to get it past a judge, but actually convincing the jury that this is the set of facts.
So, taking this hypothetical one step further, and, the defense is going to argue, and it might be successfully argue, that it's unfairly prejudicial to do this, that it is not relevant towards what the actions actually were. And what's going to happen before the prosecution would be allowed to do this in court, they would have to have oral arguments and decide whether or not, number one, is it relevant? And number two, is it unfairly prejudicial to the defendant? And if the judge says that it is relevant and it's not unfairly prejudicial, it's going to come in.
Wow.
Lots to cover.
This has been a great discussion, Josh, and thank you so much for joining us. I think we've all been watching this week, wanting a little bit of clarity, so it'll be interesting to see how this develops.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully you don't mind us calling you back in the future.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all.
This isn't over by a long shot.
No, it's not.
Stick with us, folks. Nicole Krasean has got the latest on an exotic animal bust being overturned. All right.
Bad time for questions. Sorry,
Okay,
guys.
hold on.
Hold on. 10 seconds.
We'll chat later.
All right, welcome back to Fox 10 Talks. I thought we had a vigorous discussion there.
It was
Josh
a great
is
discussion.
Yeah, he's a good find. I'm like, how did we get you in our evil clutches? And he goes, I have a good publicist.
Yeah, exactly. He does.
So get a good publicist if you want to come on Fox 10 Talks, or not, or just wander through the door.
That's right.
And we'll talk to anybody.
We're open.
But he was.
I think
good.
Belinda
He
was
good.
asking, if she could go over with Josh. That shirt was hers that was on the table. Her DNA was on it. Melinda, really, that's a Dave Taylor issue. It's out of our ballpark, so check with him.
Do we want to talk about the shirt?
Yeah, we'll give Dave Taylor.
Let's see what it says. Oh, baby.
Yeah, there you go.
That is hot off the
I
presses.
believe Dave said if you go to the website.
No. I think it's if you contact Dave's personal number,
there you
which
go.
we will give at the end of the show.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's the hottest T-shirt in town.
That's how you can get them.
I mean, really.
Fox 10 Talkers. Wow.
Gotta love it. Hey, you know who's standing by? Nicole Krasean, one of our favorites. And we're gonna make her do double duty here because she's on one story today, but she also covered another story
that you're working on today.
I worked on today that came back around. But Nicole, we always love having you here. Should we talk about the Emily Pike case first, Nicole?
Nicole, this was a rough one we've been covering for quite some time, and I know you've done several reports on it. But what's the latest on that young woman's death?
Yeah, so anyone who isn't familiar with the Emily Pike case, of course, very upsetting. We've been covering it since they found her body in February. A teenager who was staying in a Mesa group home and then went missing. She ran away from the group home. She had done that several times, and she went missing and then was found on Valentine's Day. Her body was, and it's just horrific. The details of her death, and also what we found out in the time since then about the different ways that it seems like on multiple levels, the system failed her. And so the latest in that regard is that Phillips Law Group, on behalf of her father, Jensen Pike, who is incarcerated currently in an Arizona prison, they are filing a lawsuit. They have filed it. I have it right here with me. And that is a lawsuit directly toward Sacred Journey Incorporated, which is the operators of the group home in Mesa that she was staying in and that she had left multiple times. And it basically is naming them negligent in her death for multiple reasons. A big thing is the hiring, the retention of the people who work there, whether they were experienced, whether they were able to really provide the care that she needed. And also just the law group told us in our interview today that, there were a lot of cries for help that she had. There were some suicide attempts that are on record. Obviously, she was running away. And this lawsuit alleges that the group home was not doing what it should have been doing and taking care of her. So this has been filed on behalf of her father. And so we are kind of digging into it. It's an initial, notice. So it's not very long. It's not very detailed. It's just kind of letting them know, hey, we are filing this lawsuit, and then there's going to be the response. I'll turn the camera around so you can see. We're actually at the business park where Sacred Journey Incorporated has an office. So I went in there, asked if anyone was available to speak. They took my card. So we're waiting to hear back from them as well. But we're going to have this at 5:30, and then, depending on what the news of the day ends up being, we're hoping to get into it further at 9 and 10, but definitely something at 5:30 to talk about this. We're also going to be airing some pretty upsetting body camera footage.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that a little bit, Nicole, because I've seen that body cam footage, and man, there's so much there. But
is there something we want to see, or do we not want to see?
Well, the biggest thing to me was just this little girl.
Yes.
Asking these officers for help so many times with different things. You could tell, without going into specifics, and Nicole has more on that, but just it was a cry for help so many times, and I'm just speaking as a dad, as a human. I mean, it tears you to pieces watching it
all the way around. I just thought when you were saying she ran away, she went to some officers asking for help. Her dad's in the lockup. I mean, some kids just don't have a break, and where do they go? And they go to a place that's supposed to be the catch-all.
Yeah,
and that failed them.
We don't know 100% where. Yeah, it went. But I think overall, though, it certainly, like you said, I mean, she was just, man, the circumstances are so tough.
And should I backtrack that? We don't know that the facility failed her.
Right.
She ran away from there. So let me backtrack on that.
Sure.
But
Sure.
it just seems like overall she was hurting for.
I think as a
stability
person,
and
you can
love
look
and-
at this and say, it seems like society, failed her in this, and it breaks your heart.
I think in some regard, it's just the larger system. And, we've been doing some investigative stuff. I know Justin's been working on some stuff, just about group homes in Arizona. We're going to touch on that a little bit. It's not all of them, obviously, but there does seem to be a pattern. And there's some specific cases that we've been reporting on. I know Justin's really been digging in, and Emily's is just one of them, but it's a really important one. They still haven't found her killer either, which is a big part of this, is that case is still unsolved.
Nicole, do you know where they're at in the investigation? Because it's still the sheriff's office that's doing this, or is the FBI taking over?
So it seems like it's mostly the sheriff's office still. It's been kind of difficult for us
County,
to get a ton of meaty updates on it. But we had a couple weeks ago, unfortunately, some claim that someone had been arrested that was false. I mean, it's just the twists and turns in this story are just so upsetting, because it's distracting from the fact that this 14-year-old girl, a little girl who is just trying to figure out, her life, and like you said, had so many things that seemed to be working against her. She was brutally murdered, and it's still unsolved. And so, this lawsuit is one way to try and get some answers, but also at the heart of this is still this unsolved murder that we really need to keep trying to get answers on as well. This is going to answer some of the questions potentially about what went wrong on the way, but there's still a killer out there as well. So
exactly my point. I mean, there were many failed steps along the way, clearly, but the big thing is who on earth would do this to?
Yes.
Murder's awful every time, but a kid, come on. I mean, just it's just awful.
So sad. So sad.
Okay.
Well, let's talk real quick, because I was a little looking forward to getting both of you in the same room to talk about this story, because man, this was nuts with this exotic animal bust that happened Rio Verde. And when was this? This was like a month ago?
August, right?
Right? It was on a weekend.
Yeah, probably 6 weeks ago or so.
Yeah. And we got the call in the newsroom. We were all working, and it was, there are zebras, there's camels, there's goats. Like, you see all these animals. It's going on right now. Get out here. And Nicole, you got out there, saw this happening, and now today we have a totally flipped on its head story, right?
Yeah, Nicole, what are your thoughts that now that those animals are going back after seeing what you saw?
This is, for lack of a better word, a wild story. I mean, it is. When we went out there, the big push, Sheriff Sheridan in the MASH unit is back in action. They've got, we went out there and it looked like they were, had the big spotlight, like they were digging up like bodies from a cold case. That's how I was comparing it. Like, it was this huge production out there surrounding these animals. And then I'm watching the video on the screen here, just remembering. And then we went day after day after that. We talked to neighbors who said, we thought they were well taken care of. It seemed like maybe just the last little part of, the summer or something, like something had happened to the owner. And oh my goodness, like, it was such a complicated back and forth story. And now to find out, Brian, I want to hear what you found out today, because it seems like, I don't know what happened with MCSO in this seizure, but it seems like it's being reversed now, right?
Well, I'm still in the piecing together stages of this, because a lot of it was in court and I was not there for that. But I went back out to the property and the gate's locked out front. It's in the Rio Verde area, northeast of the valley. And we couldn't get in there because it's locked. It's private property. I didn't see lots of pins for animals, but no animals left. Yeah. So I just gave him my old-fashioned whistle real loud.
Can you do that right now?
It would blow your eardrums out. I'm pretty good at it. Yeah. My one talent. And
I can kill his mic.
Mr. Alvarez came out, the owner, Ben Alvarez. He came out and he said, well, even though I think he has given a statement or two, he said, my lawyer suggested I not talk until the animals come back, which could be tonight, could be tomorrow.
But a court has ordered
that those animals need to go back to him. And I real quick did watch some of the court case. A lot of what they are arguing is that there wasn't sufficient evidence for the deputy to jump over the fence without a warrant and go look around based on a couple of stories from neighbors. And Ben Alvarez in court, one of his arguing points was that he had given them water the day before and even the morning of, but that he claimed a leak. Now, I don't know how many water containers there are on the property, but a leak was the problem, not neglect, which kind of goes back to, he says he's had animals out there since the 90s, and now all of a sudden he turns into a bad owner.
Yeah.
That doesn't quite jibe, so I don't know what...
Let's watch real quick. I just have a quick soundbite from the sheriff who talked to you, Nicole, that night. Let's listen to what Sheriff Jerry Sheridan had to say about this.
There's a new sheriff in town, and the sheriff cares about the conditions people keep their animals. There's no water out here. There's no shade for many of these animals, and today was, 114 degrees today. It was difficult for us, and we had water.
I should say real quick, the sheriff's office did send out a statement. They're not quite giving this up yet. The statement basically said that we hope these animals will now get the care they need, alluding to the fact that they may not have been before, and that this case remains open. Nicole, thoughts?
I mean, I don't know. It's for once I am kind of speechless, because I just feel like we went out there and it was such a dedicated task force that was out there, this MASH unit, gathering these animals as if they, were in need of immediate medical help. And then now to find out that potentially, of course, it's alleged that maybe they weren't in immediate need. It's hard as a journalist. I know you guys both know this. You get sent out there and you've got this like really active scene, and you're trying to cover all of it as it's happening out there, as they're putting these animals in these pens and taking them away. And then you hear from neighbors saying, we were concerned, but just very recently, because this was kind of like a neighborhood petting zoo for years that we love to take our grandkids to, our kids to. And so you're like, wait a second. And so it's just kind of a reminder for us too that, stories definitely evolve over time. Yeah. And now to have this reversal, it sounds, in court, and that he's going to be getting those animals back. I mean, I can't wait for one of us to get the opportunity to sit down and talk to him and hear from him as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Nicole, we're out of time.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Story
Thanks,
tonight
guys.
at 4. Emily Pike, very important there. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Nicole. All
okay, well, hang with us, folks.
We got more
next.
action. Sports. Love those guys.
It's happening. And
We'll be
All right, about 10 seconds.
Welcome back, everybody. You're watching Fox 10 Talks. Thanks for hanging with us today. So, very, very good conversation there. I mean, gosh, we've been following that one for forever. And just the animals. I mean, zebras, camels, rams, all of that. And, I think people, one reason or another, when they see animals in distress, they're just like, I've got to do something. I had like 5 people reach out to me when that happened saying like, is there any way that I can help adopt these animals? And, seeing that happen. And then we had the one that Nicole covered, or was it Ken? No, it was Nicole right on the dogs that we had pretty recently too. That was a rough
We
case.
love our animals
do.
and because they cannot protect themselves often, and but it's a good point though that I was going to ask Nicole. I don't know that the owner was not out there the night this all happened.
No, it was not. Right.
So as the old saying goes, there are 2 sides to every story.
Absolutely.
And
the other old saying, "We'll see you in court."
And the other old saying, "We'll see you in court."
Yeah.
And he was, talking.
Look at this.
What's up?
Look at this animal
Just
coming
crashed
in.
the
Another
party.
sharp-dressed man
Always.
walking in here.
Always.
We got to up our game, bro.
This is all I
Totally.
had that was clean. Is either do laundry or wear this.
You sleep in that, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it's in my
That's the
PJs,
great
by the
part.
way.
How do you think he gets those folds?
See, I saw one of your clips where you pretended you were in bed and then you
That was the draft.
And that's what you wore.
Well, what do you think Richard wears in the RV? He's rolling.
Speaking of the RV, that's why I'm dressed. We just did a promo for the RV.
Tell us about that.
We're going to break the internet. We're going to have 48 hours of live streaming.
Like a Jerry Lewis telethon?
Yeah.
well,
Nothing left to the imagination on
Thursday,
that RV.
It's called
September
Twitch now,
25th,
Brian.
Thursday, you got the Cardinals and Seahawks on Fox 10. The next day, ASU TCU on Fox 10. So I'm taking my RV to State Farm Stadium, start there at 10 a.m., live streaming the entire time. During the game, after the game, I'm going to drive the RV to ASU, spend the night in the parking lot at ASU, live streaming the whole time. It's going to be epic. We're pretty excited.
Can you
about it.
imagine if you're on the freeway, if you're on I-10 coming back, and you just look over and you see Richard Saenz
all by
driving
himself
the RV with a sign
and
going
you just
on?
took off your mirror. Like, hey, oh, sorry about that.
He has a sign on the back called 1-800-FOX-10. How's my driving?
I thought you were going for like a lone RV out in the middle of nowhere, but I bet if people
That would
hear
be
this, they're
breaking
going to
bad.
show up.
Exactly. That's
That's
which
what
you
we're encouraging people to
ran
come by.
Yeah.
Come by. You're going to be live on the air. I'll throw the football around with you.
That's cool.
Right.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
But Brian Cranston and Aaron Paul both approved.
They were very impressed.
Don't have
with
that clip
with
handy, but it did.
Yeah,
happen.
But you
exactly.
did some updates to the RV, am I mistaken?
Yes, yeah, we got some new flooring, we got a new AC system. It's like you're partying like it's 1999. It's the 1999 Rexall V25.
Have you told the story about how you ended up buying it? Because it's a decent one.
It was at an estate sale. And it was the son of a guy.
So it has
and I guess
ghosts.
the guy who owned the house was a hoarder, but of cars.
Okay.
So he had all kinds of cars back there, and the RV had been sitting. I've been wanting an RV for a while, but I didn't really know much about RVs, so I didn't want to spend a lot on an RV, because I wanted to learn about it first. So I went. Long story short, it hadn't ran in 10 years. The guy said, "Hey, if you're willing to tow it out of here, you can have it for."
Which is a risk, right?
Right. Yeah, but I looked at it and I said, you know what? This thing needs a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Fox 10 looked at me and said, this guy needs
like
a
Rudy.
chance.
Like every Fox 10
Exactly.
career, at least myself.
Exactly. So we slowly but surely we fixed her up, put a battery in it, cranked right up, and now we got the generator, service. We got the new AC. So
How happy were you when it cranked on that first
boy,
time?
it was big. Really, once we put it in, then the lights came on. We're like, all right, you got something there. And then the generator cranked right up. So
wow,
it's been cool to bring her back to life. That's for sure.
Have you like what's the farthest you've taken it?
To Payson and then Strawberry.
And just for a personal get out of
just
town
took it
thing?
up there. I did take it up there for the ASU Camp T.
Yeah.
And I remember I asked Coach, we had Kenny Dillingham one-on-one in front of the RV. I said, this RV is a 1999 Rexall. Where were you in 99? And he was like, I was in the 4th grade.
Oh, my God.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah, we're showing our age now.
We're having a lot of fun with that thing. I just did it as a hobby, and then it became kind of like a joke. And I often text pictures to Mark Martinez and Ellen McNamara like on a Friday night because the TV works in that thing. So I get to I have it on Fox 10. I'll take a picture of them and send it to them, and they're like, "You're out of control, Saenz." And then it became a joke. They're like, Saenz just go around and interview people in his RV, and that's how the Rolling with Richard thing started. So during the Super Bowl when it was here, I went and interviewed different, celebrities, different athletes, Luis Gonzalez, Shane Doan, Max Starks, David Tyree, the hero of the Super Bowl that was here when the Giants beat the Patriots. And I'll never forget the first one. We're like, we'll do Gonzo because he's one of the coolest guys out there. So I go out to the Salt River Fields, and we told him, look for Richard in an RV. And I'll never forget, Luis Gonzalez pulls up with Derek Hall, the CEO and the president of the D-backs, and their faces, their mouths drop. I'm on top of the RV. I got sweats on. I'm wearing a Bruce Lee T-shirt, and he's not even doing karate. He's DJing, and we're tying the banner that says "Rolling with Richard," and their jaws just drop. They're like what the heck?
Like they couldn't quite make sense of it.
Yeah, Gonzo goes, "This is it." He goes, "We were looking for a real RV. We passed it."
No.
It's amazing.
We're taking it down a notch. It's the Fox 10 budget.
Exactly. We're keeping it real.
Well, I was going to say the opposite side. I hope you got that thing. You got some endorsements coming in
Right,
and
we
making
should.
some money, making a little side hustle thing.
Yeah, I went and got the RV toilet paper for it.
Nice, yeah, stationary.
Quick question. Because this RV toilet paper is supposed to break down easier.
Right.
Okay.
Why don't we always use that?
Is it
Biodegradable?
comfortable?
I don't know. I haven't used it
Yeah.
yet.
It's cozy. It's cozy.
Hey, my first
Like
TV job,
sandpaper?
I used whatever.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Richard, I think it's because it breaks down in your hands, like in the
maybe.
Exactly.
early
Oh.
breakdown.
Have some extra.
Yeah,
what's
okay.
that sanitation?
Do it a special.
stuff.
Right, right.
Use a lot of it, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Melinda asks, I saw this guy on tour with Steve yesterday. Question is, when is he going to clean up his office? Shots fired.
Who said that?
Melinda.
Melinda.
Thank you, Melinda.
She is so.
Come in with the zingers.
Well, okay, Melinda. Excellent point. Very observant. But that's a sign of a genius, right?
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
Yes, disorder.
Yeah.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You think Einstein had a clean office?
Yes.
Come on. I mean, let's get
But
real.
very, you're right, Melinda. I need to clean up especially my desk. Yeah, that's for sure.
Are we talking?
Because Steve Nielsen was walking around.
That's right.
And he walked into
Oh,
the
I
sports
see.
office.
The Nielsen
Like, hey, this is
circus
sports office.
that comes
and they
in.
had stuff. We had stuff everywhere. It's like a big toy box, is what it is.
You
We
just
had
walked in there
basketball.
uninvited?
We were in the middle of a
Yeah,
meeting. I
Steve
stopped
Nielsen.
going in there. And he bum rushed us,
Man.
Yeah.
I should be off limits or something,
Exactly,
right? You
yes.
at least
Hey,
knock.
give me a chance
At least
to
they
make
knock,
space.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We only got 5 minutes left, Richard. We got to talk about. I'm a Niner fan. It's rivalry
boy.
week in the Valley. What do the Cardinals got to do to get a win this week?
Yeah.
They got to run the football, and they got to get after the quarterback, right? And it's funny how I think the stars have kind of aligned for the Arizona Cardinals in a sense that week one, they're on the road, tough place to play in New Orleans, but they're taking on, Spencer Rattler, local kid. You wish him well, but just not against the Cardinals, right? If you're a Cardinal fan. And so, but he's still a young quarterback, a kid you can get after,
Yeah.
right? Game comes down, he played well, the defense gets a stop. Week two, it's Bryce Young, another young quarterback with the Carolina Panthers. Game comes down to the end. They get after him, Calais Campbell with the sack. Now they got Mac Jones, the backup, because Brock Purdy's not playing, and so it's like, whoa, that's another break for them. Then after that they got Sam Darnold, who doesn't really scare me. Then they got Cam Ward, the rookie number one overall pick for Tennessee. So
Really?
it's kind of
We
interesting.
could be 6-0.
If you're saying there's a chance, right? But I think the key to victory will be running the ball, which they really haven't done well lately.
Okay.
It's funny because maybe they're saving James Conner for a game like this,
Yeah.
or for later in the year. Trey Benson's got a lot of carries, but they haven't ran the ball like they did last year, and they haven't protected Kyler Murray like they did last year. So I think the O-line, you got to win in the trenches, right? You can't let San Francisco get off to an early start. It's their home opener. Those fans are going to be going nuts. They've got a quarterback who's played before, right? But not with this system. It's only a second game, so maybe if you can get after him, rattle him a little bit, make him uncomfortable, you have a chance to win.
Which is what Arizona did, correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yes.
They beefed up their defense, right?
They went all in on the defense this offseason. Yeah, they went and got Josh Sweat, the edge rusher from the Philadelphia Eagles, who had a big game in the Super Bowl. Ask Patrick Mahomes about that. They brought back Calais Campbell, who had the game-winning sack to seal the deal, a blast from the past, a guy that was with the Cardinals when they went to the Super Bowl. Every draft pick was on the defensive side of the football except for one. Will Johnson was their second-round pick. He's a starter, had a big hit against the Saints. So the defense has had to get 2 stops down the stretch because that's what Vince Lombardi said it best. Good offenses win games. Good defenses win championships.
Yeah, there you go.
Because at the end of the
There you
day,
go.
you got to have to eventually stop the other team.
What's the least we can be satisfied with this year? We need a playoff.
Yes.
We need a playoff spot, right?
Right, because they keep making that leap, right? They go from 5 wins to 8 wins to now that you want to get double-digit wins.
Yeah.
And you want to it's time to take. This is a 3rd year in the system.
Yeah.
7th year for Kyler Murray. Now, no excuse for Kyler Murray now.
Gosh.
You got James Conner. You got Marvin Harrison. You got a defense. No excuse. And that's the thing. Is Kyler Murray before had to be the hero every time. If he wasn't amazing, they were like, oh, they didn't win. Well, now he doesn't have to be. Just manage the game, And it was funny because he was doing that last weekend, and he had that great run. He was dead to rights. They got him. It's a sack. He gets out of it. It's a 30-yard game. You're like, oh, that is a heartbreaker for the opposing defense, right? But I think it was the very next play. They're already in field goal range, and he's in trouble again. And you're like, just throw it away. And then he gets hit as he throws. It's intercepted, and that kind of changed the momentum of the game. Next thing you know, Carolina's coming back, and the defense bails them out.
Rich, we only got a couple of minutes left, but let's talk about the D-backs.
Yes.
Do we have a shot at the wild card?
Speaking of, you're telling me there's a chance, right? They just lost in extra innings, but they win this series over the San Francisco Giants, which also means they win the tiebreaker with them. So starting today, they were a game and a half out of the wild card with 10 games to play. And so they got San Francisco, then they got Cincinnati, the Dodgers, Padres. Padres are playing the Mets, who are ahead of them.
And the Mets have to lose, right?
The Mets have to lose. So a lot of D-back fans are going to become Padre fans tonight. And the Padres still have something to play for as well. They're still battling the Dodgers for the division, and they're also in the wild card. So to consider that they're in it is just amazing.
And because we traded away a lot of good players.
Right. Everybody thought it was over.
Right. They call it a fire sale right before the trade deadline. And you think, okay, they get some good picks for the future next year. Well, what about this year? Because they have a chance, these young guys. I just say they're too young and dumb to know any better. Sometimes that's pretty good.
That's good. That's how I did my career.
Yeah.
I'm still doing it to this day. Good stuff, Richard.
And Melinda wants a T-shirt. She said she'll clean the office for a T-shirt.
Ooh,
wow. Weird.
Where was Melinda? We needed